Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about why I think Gran Turismo 7 is in a mess right now. Now before we do get into the video, I just want to say we are 2 subscribers away from 100 subscribers. So please subscribe, make that 100 subscriber milestone come true. But yeah, let's get into the video. The first thing I want to talk about is credits and how unbalanced it is in this game. So first off, the price for some of the cars in this game is ridiculous. 3 million for a Bugatti Chiron, 4 million for an Aston Martin Valkyrie, as you can see on screen, 20 million for a standard McLaren F1, yet a 400-mile-an-hour Dodge SRT Tomahawk is only 1 million. If we go over to Forza, these cars would be significantly cheaper while being the exact same car. And this wouldn't be so bad if we were able to get credits fast, but we're not. Which brings you on to my next point, which is to get credits we have to farm the same 3 races using the same 3 cars. If you wanted to farm to get the McLaren F1, we would have to farm for 20 million credits, which is a lot. If we can get 1.5 million an hour, which is the maximum amount we can earn, it would still take us 14 hours to get, as you can see on the screen. Bearing in mind this is for a car that we'll never even get there to use because there are hardly any races for it. And as you can see on the screen, Kaz is keen for having multiple races to choose from to grind credits. But if that's the case, why do we still have to do the same 3 races 1 year later? Well, for some people it may be fine, but for the average person who has a job and kids, they are not able to sit there and grind for 14 hours just to get the car they want. And if they do a little a day, the chances are the car will be gone before they get enough credits. This is made worse by the fact there is so much emphasis placed upon car collection in the game. It is literally the campaign. The next thing I want to talk about is the amount of cars, or lack of. Went from having 1,279 cars in Gran Turismo 6 to having just 338 cars in Gran Turismo Sport. Gran Turismo 7 is slightly better, having 484 cars, but this is still less than half of what was in GT6, bearing in mind that game is now 10 years old. We're not done here though. If we take a closer look at the cars in GT7, we can see there are 78 cars exclusive to a legendary dealership, 73 in the used dealership, and 10 cars exclusive to invitations. Given that there are 10 legend cars and 30 used cars on display at any given time, that means at any one point there are over 121 cars in the game that you will not be able to buy. By chance, this works out exactly 1/4 of all the cars in the game. And this is very bad as you're relying on luck. Let's say I couldn't get on the game for a week. I would have to wait another 3 months or even up to a year just to get the chance to buy the car again. What doesn't help is the already small car list is flooded with Group 3 and Group 4 cars duplicates of the same car, such as the Mazda MX-5. And there are many manufacturers that are missing no Lotus and very few TVR models, both of which have a significant role in the game. No Vauxhall, so no VX220. No new Jaguar or McLaren models, which would be nice. No kit car manufacturers like Ariel or Caterham, this is the big loss. No new roof models, and there are no new Audi or Porsche models, which is a massive loss. Very little Pagani models and Alfa Romeo models, which there are a lot they could add. And there are very little classic race cars like the Corvette C5R you see on the screen. However, the biggest absence in the game is the lack of proper rally cars. In the game there are a few, that being the Audi S8 Quattro and the Peugeot 205, and the Celica and the Escudo being added at a later date. There are a few newer rally cars as well. But this is seriously lacking when compared to previous games. For example, there's no classic Subaru and Impreza rally cars, neither are there any classic Mitsubishi rally cars. The classic Ford Focus, Escort and RS2000 all missing. Some French rally cars such as the Renault R5 and the Peugeot 206 are missing as well. There are also a few Japanese rally cars that are missing, like the Corolla. What is also bad is how some cars are locked behind invitations, which means you must rely on receiving the invitations to get them. Which brings on to my next point, the campaign, or lack of. I'll start by saying this game does not have a proper campaign. It has a series of menus which function more as a walkthrough of the game rather than the campaign itself. Now what you'll see on screen is some footage of the campaign from Gran Turismo 3. You can see it's all very visual. Many different races using different cars and even has different levels of difficulty, and even rally and endurance races. Bearing in mind this game does not even have 200 cars. And if we look at Gran Turismo 4, you can see just how many races there were. Beginner races, professional races, European races, endurance races, manufacturer races, everything. Yet, if we look at Gran Turismo 7, you only do one menu at a time, and there are significantly less races. Considering this game is meant to be the best in the series, I think this is really disappointing. Also, very little endurance and rally races. This is also disappointing as it's what makes Gran Turismo. They have recently added in the extra menus, but they are just car collections, so they don't really add much to the game. And the biggest absence for me is the lack of specific car races, such as the Mitsubishi Evo Cup, which you can see in Gran Turismo 3, and the Skyline race, which is in Gran Turismo 4. There's none of this in Gran Turismo 7. Because of the disappointing campaign, most of the players have been diverted into playing the Sport mode, which we'll be talking about next. Sport mode is a good concept, but it has two major flaws. The first one is it's now being used as a replacement for single player. When people buy Gran Turismo, they expect to buy a game with lots of cars, which you can use in different types of races. Instead, you get to use only Group 3 and Group 4 races online. The number of cars to choose from where there are actual races to play is significantly reduced. One good thing about Gran Turismo 7 is there's now time trials which require you to use a specific car to get the best time around the track, even rewards you with a nice amount of credits. However, this is becoming with even more Group 3 cars now. Second issue is the penalty system. It's very difficult to race when you're getting rammed off the track from behind, then you get a penalty for it. Have a look at this montage. Next thing I want to talk about is the updates that Gran Turismo 7 has received since launch. When compared to GT Sport, we can see that Gran Turismo 7 has received only half the number of events and cars that Gran Turismo Sport received in the same time, and only a third of the number of tracks. From this, it is evident to see GT Sport got more love in terms of updates, receiving a new campaign and many other things in its first year, while Gran Turismo 7 has received very little, other than a few music rally events. What makes the updates to Gran Turismo 7 even worse is that when we did used to get updates back near launch, they would consist of new events, maybe a new track, and 4 or 5 cars that people were excited for, either high-end supercars like the Bugatti Chiron, or cars that have been absent from the series for a long time, such as the Suzuki Escudo. Now we only get 3 cars per update, and that is it. Last month we received an update getting a Mazda hatchback Group 4 car, which I think is just filler, and 2 Honda Civics. Let's compare the July updates to Gran Turismo 7 from both July 2022 and July 2023. As we can see in 2022, we received 3 very useful and good cars. Firstly, the Skyline Silhouette, a car which hasn't been in the game since Gran Turismo 2 near over 20 years ago now. The car is still popular even 1 year later, it's very iconic to the series. Also received the Porsche 918 Spider. The car is very good for its sheer performance. Now the final car we received was a classic Maserati, and this gave a rival to some of the other classic Ferraris in the game, but it also added more Maseratis, which are always very popular as a bit of a unrepresented branding, the Gran Turismo series. However, let's talk about the July 2023 update. Wait, we didn't have one. Yes, that's right, they didn't even bother with it for this month, without telling any of the fans until late notice. Very good, Kaz. So instead we'll talk about the August update. This consists of a nice Maserati Spider, which was new to the game, an old Corvette, which was okay, but it was locked behind the Legends dealership, and that's bad, and which we talked about earlier. Also featured an ambulance, which was a funny addition to the game, but it did not serve much purpose as a race car, and yet another Yaris. As we can see, the updates are now being filled with a lot of kind of filler cars. These don't really add anything extra to the game, but it does work for polyphony, as they can say they've been adding more cars. Now, one way to get around this is a suggestion made by another Gran Turismo creator, Hammer Studios Gaming. He said they should do one big update adding all the duplicate variants of the Skylines and MX-5 and just be done with it. I don't know why Polyphony won't do this. The next thing I want to talk about is the arcade mode. Now, back in the early games, you used to be able to drive most of the cars and with some high-end ones having to be unlocked as bonus items. Now what you can see is the Gran Turismo 3 arcade mode on the screen right now, and you've got all these cars available to drive. Some of the more extreme supercars like the XJ220 and the Speed 12 required quite a lot of effort to unlock, but you are able to play on any track provided they're all unlocked, and any car provided they're all unlocked. Now I'm going to show you some of Gran Turismo 7 arcade mode. It doesn't really have one as such. It's kind of like an unengaging single player races which you can do, and even on professional mode they are still very easy. You're not able to use a single car to rent, and considering there are some cars in the game that are worth 20 million, it would be good if we could just quickly drive it for a test drive, even if it's for only 2 laps. But the fact you must buy the car before you drive it shows Polyphony's push for microtransactions and profit. Talk about is the rigged roulette spins. Seems like me, along with everyone else in the player base and the Reddit, thinks these things are rigged. Most of the time you get the least amount of credits possible, that being 10,000 credits. I get Kaz doesn't want it to be like Forza Horizon where they basically chuck cards at you. There's a difference between getting a nice McLaren or Pagani, for example, every now and then, to getting 10,000 credits every single spin. What also annoys me is how these roulettes are the only way of getting invitations to manufacturers. I'm currently working on a video ranking every single Ferrari following on from the version I did for Lamborghini. I have ranked most of the Ferraris and have even written a script for the video, but I can't upload it as I'm not able to access every car I need. Why is this? Because I have to wait for an invitation from a roulette to access some of the cars. So far I've been waiting over a month just to access some of these cars. Let's see how much longer I'll have to wait. I would like it if some of these issues get fixed soon to make Gran Turismo 7 a better game. And with the GT Sports servers shutting down in January, I'm assuming they are putting their focus into Gran Turismo 8, which I hope would have ironed out these issues and will be the best in the series. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe.